So Patrick, for you, did you ever imagine you'd be a farmer?
I think it was always in the back of my mind, kind of like I wanted to do something outdoors. Um, I really valued healthy food, and I don't think I knew how to make that happen though, because like a lot of people, I only thought that I didn't know about small scale agriculture. I knew about large scale agriculture where you have multiple generations of family that build something, and it's very there's a lot that goes into it, and I didn't realize that you could do it on a small scale that's manageable for a couple people. And that's where Caden came into my story. Is he kind of gave me that option, and as he started kind of putting ideas in my head about what the possibilities were, I started to piece together how that it would actually be possible to make a living. And that's kind of the main thing, because you don't want to do something and then not think you have a future in it. You want to have some hope
Right.
to work towards something. If you're working hard, you want it to pay off. So he kind of allowed me to see that it is possible and that we could do it, um, with what we had available to us. So
And what about you, Caden? Did you, because your father, I mean, just talking to your father briefly, and then
Right.
you mentioning that you knew you wanted to be a farmer, but I was curious if that's something you knew your whole life that you wanted.
Uh, I didn't like. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain. I think I just had to figure it out. That was what I needed to do, but I just had to figure out that that's the route I needed to take. And yeah, kind of like he was saying, I always loved like being out in the country. We had a grandpa that lived out there, and he hunted and fished, and he had some farm animals, and I loved that. But I just didn't think that was a possibility. Like to kind of do that for a living,
Yeah.
right? Um, but yeah, like he said, I thought you had to have a bunch of land and you had to be born into it, right? And I wasn't really big on just growing corn or soybeans. I thought that was cool, just having that land. But yeah, so I just like in high school, I was like, I need to figure out what I want to do, and just started researching, you know, small scale agriculture really, and I got into like market gardening, and that's kind of took off from there. I knew I wanted to do other things, but I knew that market gardening was going to be the entryway.
So the cable farm was your idea.
Yeah, yeah. So that was kind of my vision. I knew I wanted to farm. I didn't know how long it was going to take, what it would look like, but
What were those conversations like with your family and your father at that time?
right. So he was, he had a full time job. He was in the automotive industry, right? And he didn't really have the time to help me, but he helped me out a little bit, financially, with the business, and uh, yeah, I mean they were all for it. They had that land, the little bit of land that they allowed me to use, and he didn't really understand like the vision, because he didn't do the research I was doing, and but kind of over time just kind of like proving to him like you can actually make a living uh, farming,
Yeah.
and that's a foreign concept to most people around here. They think if you want to farm, you got to be have a bunch of land, and there's no way you can grow vegetables and make a living doing that. So yeah, it's just kind of over time. But yeah, my parents were very supportive of everything I was doing.
What year did you start?
So I probably, I think we started the spring of 22. Um,
So you're 18,
I was 17, so it was like
17.
my senior year in high school,
Hmm.
right? Uh, yeah, we started then. I was probably, I knew I wanted to do it probably like a year or two before that. I just I was playing baseball, and I didn't have the time really to research it and think about it. But yeah, that's when I got into it, and I was just selling any vegetables that we could grow just to people at my grandma's church, and that's how it started. And
Very cool. So
yeah,
you would go to school and then, or would you do anything before school, or what was that process like then if you're starting as a senior?
right. Yeah, so it was in the spring, so that was like my last semester, right? And so, yeah, I didn't have many classes.
Probably
right.
had some senioritis to where you're like, I'm done, and
Yeah, I was definitely done. Um, but yeah, I just tried to start small because that's what I heard, and I had like a little, I don't know, it's probably 10 by 20, a little area garden, um, and I quickly outgrew that. I realized that if I want to do this for like a living, I need to start on some scale. Um, so I started, making those beds that we saw earlier, that same size, and we just gradually built them as we could, and just a lot of learning curves there, and yeah, it was quite the learning process.
And I'm curious then for just how you two, whenever you're starting out too, because you two are such close friends, did you go to the same school too, high school?
We went to middle school together, and then we kind of parted ways for a couple of years there as we were in high school, and we actually kind of rekindled our friendship probably 3 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't forever, so it was probably about 3 years ago. We started hanging out, working out together, doing stuff that we like to do, play guitar, and we kind of rekindled that and brought back what we had in middle school. When we used to have a great time in class together, um, and yeah, we work great together, and we're good at bouncing ideas off each other and complimenting each other's strengths and weaknesses. So um, it's been great to work together.
Because I was curious then, just how did that just come together essentially?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about like when we actually like you decided that you wanted to do it, but um, I guess
No,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
guess
I
I'll
think
let you
it's
go.
cool. So it was last year. Um,
Well, I guess I should say that like I had been doing this since 2022, and so I had already learned a bunch, and we were selling at farmers markets, and I would just talk to him about it, and just like I would come here and I'd be like, dude, we got to do something with this land, right?
yeah,
And he was like, yeah, okay, right. And eventually I just started talking to him about like the money aspect of it. Like we can make a living. Like that's possible. Um, and then I guess I'll let you
yeah.
explain.
I mean, I was in the same boat as most people. I was like, I didn't quite understand what he was doing yet during those 2 years while he started. I didn't even understand it then, and um, over time he had to convince me, and I had to learn that this is real. You're making money. You're able to live, and we could expand this, um, and it makes sense to do that. And so, like you said, that time of dropping little tidbits in my ear was like a year, and I would just be like, yeah, I'll go do some research, think about it, and I'd be like, this doesn't make sense, man. And then he'd tell me again, and I'd go back, and eventually, we really started talking about the chickens a lot, the pasture-raised chickens, and I really got deep into the research on those, and I was like, okay, we can do this, and we have the exact right setup to do this, and it came together one night. We had a campfire. We like to have campfires and play guitar. We did last night actually. We cooked some jalapeno poppers,
Heck
but
yeah.
um, it was about it was late last year. We had a campfire, sitting there playing guitar, talking, and we decided to go visit Polyface, and we were like, we need to see this. We need to see or go where this is happening, even though it was in the colder months, so they didn't have chickens out in pasture. We just wanted to be in the presence of somebody who was doing it. And so we did. The next week, we went up to Polyface, and we walked around. We had a great time, and what happened from then? I guess we just started planning from there,
Yeah.
and we had conversations with his dad and my grandparents, and set everything up, got everything straightened out, and started building our tractors early this year.
Right.
That's so cool.
So
And then kind of going back to, because I want to talk on just the economics of the production side too. I'm just curious, how did you guys go? Well, one, Yeah, how did you go about selling your produce?
Hmm.
And two, I guess this is all just kind of combined. Just how do you go about the selling and marketing of it all, but then also the actual like pricing to where it's feasible for you all to continue, but then also expand if you want to.
Yeah, so like I told you, I started out just selling vegetables to people at my grandma's church, right? And so that helped. You know, I sold a good bit that way, but then,
Do you remember how did you go about even just talking to them, or was it your grandma?
she was really doing the work for me,
Yeah.
and I mean, I'm so
Just like an
thankful.
awesome grandma.
Yeah, I'm so thankful that she did. But yeah, that kind of got me going, right? And then people were saying how great it was and encouraging me, right? Um, and then but we started to produce, more than we could sell to just individual people here and there, right? So uh, we started trying to get into some farmers markets, and we got into the one here in China Grove. It's kind of a smaller market, but that's the first one we did, and uh, we didn't know a thing about how to sell vegetables or how to display them or right how to check people out. Um, which I knew a little bit, I should say, because I worked on a produce farm, like a larger scale one, for about 6 months, uh, bef- kind of during the time I was, you know, getting this going as well. But
Was that just to learn the ins and outs?
yeah, yeah, it was. I knew people there through a family member, and they're a little bit more conventional, I think, and a lot larger scale than what we're trying to do. But I learned a lot. Learned what I didn't want to do, what I wanted to do, and
I'm curious before moving on with that,
right.
because kind of going back to the context of everything and trying to get the consumers to really understand.
Mhm.
And now that you're doing all of this and you continue to learn on the regenerative route,
Mhm.
had working on that farm, has that changed your perception of at all of just growing food? Because you're saying just at the scale they have.
Right. Um. Let's see. I mean, they were definitely larger scale. Vegetable production. They grew peaches and stone fruit. But yeah, I realized that how much work goes into it, and you know kind of like you kind of have to choose like how you want to produce your food and like who you want to sell to, and I don't know if that really answers your question there.
I guess can you add context too to you don't have to like name the farm or anything, but
Right.
what exactly was the 6 months that you were there? Like what all were you doing? And then yeah, just what.
Yes. So I worked at they had a farm store, so I worked there, and so I was ringing people up, stocking, all the produce, and so I got an idea for like the pricing, like how much you could sell things for. Um, at the same time, I'm growing some other stuff, so I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm figuring out the math, like I can make this much off this bed of, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I started figuring that out, and then I helped, with like in like the wash pack area where they did all that, and so I kind of realized like what goes into like getting these from the field, um, you know, ready to sell. So I learned a good bit there, and then like I did some in the field.
Because how big was you said it was a larger scale, but
Yeah, yeah. So it was I think they're about 70 acres. I don't know that they use all of it, but they use a good bit of it for vegetable production, and it's definitely more conventional. They used plastic, and they tilled, and not that there's anything against that, but that's just how they did it. And I knew I couldn't really do that because their system was set up for like a tractor and like implements and stuff, and I didn't have the resources for that
yeah.
or the land base really. Uh,
How much manpower, like I guess employees were working
yeah,
on there at
so
the time? Because that's another issue too. It's just you have to go with how much manpower you have and can afford.
right. So a lot of times these bigger produce farms, they'll have people. There's like organizations with people from Mexico, and they'll send them over, and like they get paid, and they have to. There's certain like rules, like they stay there on the farm, and so they had like maybe 15 guys or something like that working there.
Which is pretty crazy, even just to say that 15 just for 70 acres. and then just thinking about super large scale production. Just
Yeah.
it's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, I mean that was just the guys in that program, and then there was probably like 10 other people. But yeah, I mean it was a good bit, but you know I knew like it was just really me, you know, for you know my farm, and I was like, so I had to kind of put things into my context and figure out kind of the route I wanted to take there.
Now then, I'm curious to just continue on. Just kind of going back to whenever you two start working together too, because it's so
Right.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about just this trip that I'm taking, it's each individual farm and ranch is just a different story. And again, I've not been able to talk with anybody your guys' age at all.
Right.
And it's just cool that you guys, well, one, that you started this in high school. That's just something you don't hear
Mm-hmm.
about at all.
Yeah.
But then two, like you were able to, come together and work together. So what's that experience has been like now? It's been over a year, or how long again? Or 2 years?
Um, I'd say
It's probably been close. Well, it probably hasn't even been a year since
yeah, maybe
he.
11 months since we really like committed to it, but
Right.
we've been talking about it probably for,
Over a year.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, what's that been like for you guys?
it's been a learning experience because like, um, you know, because just first off you have to know how to run a business, and then uh, like I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I'll give you my perspective on it. Coming into it, I was kind of following Caden's lead. He knows a lot about the market gardening, and he's been teaching me and guiding me through that process, and kind of being my teacher in that, to the point now where I feel very comfortable doing all of our tasks and stuff myself. But so that was a big influence, and then we kind of learned the chicken stuff together. But you know, you build a cool friendship when you're building something together. It's hard to explain, but you feel like you're working towards something with people that you love and that you love working with, and it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like we're out there having a good time. I'm excited to go work in the garden, whatever projects we're doing. It's like we're just building block by block, and it doesn't get old. So
Yeah.
yeah.
We've definitely like we've had to learn together. We've done some crazy stuff. Just like working long hours and into the night, and
We've processed chicken at 2 a.m. before.
yeah.
Unfortunately.
So, but yeah, just going through those things together and learning together. It's been a really good time, and just he's able to do a lot of things now. On his own, and that's been so helpful. And yeah, we both have our specialties, I guess, and we can contribute to the bigger picture in our own ways. So.
Have any of your friends or other family taken notice to where they start asking questions for themselves? They might have interest in growing any type of food or meat?
Definitely. I don't know about like producing stuff on their own, maybe, because I guess like close family and friends,
I think they're more interested in how we're doing it.
Right.
Like, not how they could do it. And maybe it gets to that point at some, hopefully we can influence people to produce their own food, but
it's not for everybody, like you have to like it has to be the right scenario, and you have to have the right people, the right team to do something like what we're doing. And not most people are not willing or want to maybe do the things we're doing, but that's okay.
Because I'm trying to reach to, say, because we're relatively close to, say, Charlotte, I'm trying to
Right.
reach to the city folks.
Right.
Because I know there's so many people, because I say this a lot too, there's so many people to where they might be making good money,
Mm-hmm.
but they're spending it on all kinds of things that are to escape the job that they don't like, the city that they might not like as much as they thought.
Right.
Or, I mean, just a lot of times the money that they're spending is to add the fulfillment aspect that they don't have, even though the money they're spending is not even doing anything for the fulfillment. And so there's a possibility to where you might not make as much money as, say, like a tech job,
Right.
but kind of like what you guys were just saying, you're outside working towards something bigger and long term, and
Yeah,
that fulfillment aspect. You feel more fulfilled. And
absolutely.
I'm assuming that, like, when you go to the markets and you hear the customers rave about that stuff, like, you can't quantify that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I would think about even the farm I worked on, it was only a few months. Even like going back to the shiitake mushrooms that
Right.
take you inoculate and do all that months prior. I wasn't even there for that. I was just there moving the logs and then harvesting the mushrooms and just hearing them
Right.
rave about that. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even imagine if I actually owned that farm and did all of that and then actually sold that. That probably adds even more fulfillment.
It's probably one of the most fulfilling things you can do. You know, take something from a seed or a baby chick and and be able to provide it to somebody. You know, the end product, and them say it's the best thing they've ever had. You know, so that's really cool. Like you're saying, you know, while I do think this is like it can be very profitable, um, you know, it takes a while to get there. You know, and you have to be willing to make a lot of sacrifices to like.
What kind of sacrifices?
Um, Work for free and you know live below your means for however long. You know, it's different for everybody. You know, depending on what you have and amount of capital maybe you're able to put into it initially. But uh, yeah, it's uh, a lot of sacrifice there, and especially like you know I'm in school, so like when I'm not, I have to do this. Like there's no a lot of free time really.
Hmm.
So if you want free time, if you like free time, it's not really something you can do.
Well, the whole sacrifice thing's interesting too, because for farmers and ranchers, you understand the whole aspect of that, because kind of going to the life and death of, say, animals. I mean, you're essentially sacrificing that life
Hmm.
to sustain your health, essentially, and so you get it, you understand, because I mean, you're also forced to having to take those sacrifices. But again, someone that's never grown their food, has never gone to a farm or talked to a farmer, the sacrifice aspect is very tough, because that's also what I laugh kind of in a lot of ways
Hmm.
about the folks that get all of their knowledge and understanding through TV shows or social media like Instagram.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can still learn, but you're missing so much of the context still,
Yeah.
and you don't understand the sacrifices that need to take. Because that's why I also say that you need to understand that it's good to have a North Star of potentially having a homestead, any type of food that you want to grow, but understand it's a new lifestyle, because there are sacrifices that you will have to take. Um,
Absolutely.
all those vacations that you might want to take, or the days off on the weekends,
Yeah.
you might not have to take, or you're most likely not going to be able to take.
Right.
On top of, say, you have some plans on Saturday, well, something happens on your farm, you got to attend to that, so you're
Right.
sacrificing that. And
Absolutely.
I do think that gets us back to like that, you know, how we used to have to live, like provide for ourselves, like 100 years ago. You know, a lot of more people had gardens. You know, and that's a family being more sustainable because they're producing their own food. And at that time, it's like you just do it. It's not like it's fun or it's a hobby. It's that was life.
yeah,
You produce your own food and you provide for your family. You know, there might not be you don't get to hang out and watch TV. It's like it's just what we do. And
do you,
I feel
okay,
like that's kind of what we're getting back to. It's like it's just what we do, and you know, just produce things, healthy things for people to eat.
do you guys ever have plans long term in terms of just education, or any programs, or any like visits to where you want to use the market gardens that you're doing to help educate folks that are interested?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I would love to be able to teach people about you know what we're doing and how this is possible and just get people connected. That's probably going to be a little bit further down the line.
Yeah.
You know, hopefully we can start incorporating that as we go. But yeah, like I said earlier, it's hard to balance those things. You know, if you want to be able to do it for full time and you're still growing, and it's kind of hard to be able to have people out and do that side of things.
It is hard. That's why I think about the whole victory gardens in World War II, how the government had this massive initiative, flyers everywhere, education materials everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and we were growing. It was either 45 or 55% of all total produce was growing in these victory gardens.
Right.
And you think about the USDA and how much money they have, and they have 100,000 employees, and there's all kinds of programs and whatnot. I still don't understand how there's no like massive initiative to educate or even just designating one day a year for that. So that's why I'm constantly thinking about those things too.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. This is a very general question,
Mm-hmm.
but just from your experience starting out when you're 17, how can we get more younger folks interested in this?
Hmm.
Especially considering, especially like when talking to guys, a lot of younger generations now, the whole streaming, video games, sports, so many things that they strive for, and this is never talked about. And I know, again, kind of going back, there's a lot of guys out there to where this could be the fulfilling aspect. You're getting your hands dirty, you're outside all day.
Yeah.
Um, it's just another form of construction or other things that you're just, it adds the fulfillment aspect to who we are. So yeah, this is what I'm constantly thinking about is how can we get the younger generations in?
Right. Yeah. And it's a big deal. Like it has to happen one way or another, or just big ag is just going to take over, right? And yeah, it like I said earlier, it takes the right person for sure. Like uh, I don't think everybody would want to do it or would be willing to do it, even if they were showed, you know,
Yeah.
you know how it could be done and how cool it really is. But I don't know. What do you thoughts
I
on that?
think that there has to be education. Hopefully, we can help with that on how to do small scale agriculture. Because I've said it 3 times already, but that just doesn't exist in a lot of people's minds. It's just big farms growing corn and soybeans and huge cow herds. But like this isn't talked about in it just isn't talked about. When you talk about agriculture, you're talking about fields of corn, you know? And so if there can be some education on how you can do small scale agriculture with minimal inputs in the beginning and build slowly, I think that would benefit a lot of people. And I think it also has to do with like how we raise our kids. I don't have kids yet, but like young people are spending so much time on electronics and on the internet and like you said, streaming, playing video games, all the things. And you lose that desire to be outside. And when you remove yourself from nature, I don't even know if you're human anymore. It's like you turn into a different thing. So getting back out into nature is really fulfilling, and it feels good to have the sun on your skin. It feels good to stand outside in the rain, like it. I think we need more of that as well, because if we keep going and more people don't even like being outside in the weather, they're not going to want to farm.
No, not at
So
all.
um,
I remember my first day when I worked on that farm. They had some cornfields. It was pouring out, and I was just getting drenched. But it was
yeah,
such a great day because it was. This is it. This is what farming is like.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta do it. Doesn't matter the weather.
I think another thing is like you don't have to farm per se. Like you can like just growing food for yourself or growing, it for you and your neighbors or whatever. That's big, like going from homesteading to farming. It's a lot different than most people would think.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's just as important for people to grow stuff for themselves and their neighbors and try to grow them for.
you know, I think we can recommend that too. Like if you're interested in something like this, or even just growing for your family, start a small experiment um, with whatever type of garden you like. But we prefer no-till permanent beds, which would make it easier on the people managing it. But start with a small experiment and learn. And if it's something you're really interested in, go from there. But just starting is huge. Just growing that first vegetable, or raising that first chicken, or getting that first egg. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. I'm curious, in Caden, you're saying it takes the right person to do all of this. What do you think for yourself it is? Because you clearly want this, given the fact that you also go to school, which is not here, and so you're
Right.
doing that and coming back, and you still want to make this work. So what is it about yourself that you think?
Um, I don't know. Uh, Maybe a few things. I definitely feel called to do it. I feel like that's God personally, but
Hmm.
just telling me this is what I need to do. But that's definitely a big part of it. Um, we're definitely very ambitious, or I am at least.
Hmm.
So like this is our first year raising chickens. We're gonna do 1,800 chickens this year,
Yeah.
and that like I know I'm gonna follow through with doing that. Whatever it takes, right? And I wouldn't recommend most people or I don't think most people would be willing to you know do something that ambitious. I don't know.
The whole calling aspect's interesting too, because that also being in a city makes it difficult to even understand what you might be called to, because there's
Right.
just so many distractions and all kinds of uh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Distractions. Yeah.
It's interesting. Trying to, how would I go from here? Transition a little bit,
So,
because I still just want to talk more on just the whole age aspect of agriculture.
yeah.
I'm trying to even figure out what questions I could ask. Is there anything else that you guys could think of that we might be missing just on just this topic and just
Right.
culturally in America? Because again, we're so. I've said this before too, because I believe I was probably the fourth or fifth generation removed from my food rather than like a fourth or fifth generation
Right.
farmer. But I'm going to be the first generation rancher and want to obviously keep that in my family long term. The whole just legacy aspect too.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a really challenging problem because we have no roots anymore,
Right.
especially in the younger generations now with social media and everything, which I travel a lot, so I'm not saying you shouldn't travel, but it makes it very
Mm-hmm.
difficult now to where we have no roots anywhere. I mean, I live in Austin. Austin's a transplant city. Most people I know, I don't think anybody I know is going to live there long term.
Right.
And so that makes it very challenging too, because with you, Patrick, I mean, you said you moved to this place when you were 10, and then you're also here with multiple family members, and so that makes it a little bit different, say, than my context, where most of my family was in Indiana and I'm way out in Austin. So I don't know. To me, that's also now I'm just realizing that's a very difficult problem to tackle too. Is the fact that we humans have no more roots anymore, and so on top of that, whenever we have any discomfort, the grass always feels like is always greener on the other side.
Right.
Social media makes that very easy, especially in
Mm-hmm.
America. This is what kind of laugh at, where so many people that might hate this country but don't
Mm-hmm.
realize that it's so much better than most places in the world,
Yeah.
still to this day. And I don't know. It's a very very challenging problem
It definitely is.
because also with agriculture, it's long term. Gabe Brown went years of having just his crops destroyed, and he
Yeah.
still kept through, and now he's able to do everything he's done now. But
Right.
most people don't have that drive
Yeah.
or able to face that adversity anymore. And I don't know, I'm constantly thinking about all these things of how we can change that, because
Yeah.
I mentioned this before the podcast, it's just as much of a culture problem than anything.
Right.
um, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's the main thing we have to change. Just like, I guess you could say culture, but just like how we think of ourselves and like giving ourselves meaning. Like, yeah, I don't know. But you brought up another point. Like you said, you're kind of like you don't really know where to kind of settle down, right? Or find your next place. But like for us, like we're both from here, we have roots here, right? And it means more to like produce food here, right? And so you have that aspect of it. Like whereas if you weren't really from any one place, then
And you don't want to, and I don't want to go back to my hometown I grew
right,
up in, so
yeah,
it's very challenging.
yeah, it's hard to find meaning if you're like producing or farming at a place maybe if that you don't really have a connection to. So that could be one thing for sure.
Does it help having a connection to God? Do you think that plays a part into it?
I definitely think that helps with everything you do.
Yeah.
Um, you know, especially like finding your purpose and you know, doing what is right, you know, and I feel like what we're doing is right.
And do you just feel called to just steward the land that God created?
Yeah. Joel talks about this some, just like, you know, how would God want us to treat the land? You know, we're given, you know, this, we're blessed to be able to, I guess, you know, steward the land, right? And you know, we want to glorify the things He's created and in the best way possible. Like, so out here with these chicken tractors, we're allowing them to express their natural instincts, right? We're allowing them to do chicken things, right? Um, you know, whereas in like conventional ag, maybe they're not, you know, that they're not, you know, outside in the sun or whatever, and being able to do what they were created to do, right? Um, that's kind of how I feel on that.
Patrick, are you a believer?
Yeah. I believe that everything that happens is for a reason, and that there's a higher power that's in control of that. And I find peace in being able to trust in um, what God does. So, um, and like Caden was saying, you know, growing food, but growing it the right way in nature has been important to us, and not trying to just squeeze out every dollar, but instead produce the highest quality the right way.
Yeah.
Um, and as far as ending up here, obviously I think um, it wasn't my decision. So whose was it? You know, so I think I ended up here for a reason, and God put me here, and now it's just our job to take full advantage of that and do it the best we can.
Because that's another thing I think about too is just religion, faith overall. That was, to me personally, the most unexpected thing to happen out of losing my brother. Because at the
Uh-huh.
time I was agnostic,
Right.
and I remember when learning about agriculture and then just talking to farmers and ranchers, the one thing I always noticed, typically they were Christian, but at least pretty much most of them believed in some god or gods. And so I was like, all right, there's got to be something to that. And then I just remember traveling and visiting farms and then working on a farm. It's it's really tough to put into words, but you just see God's work at play, in my opinion. And then when you actually, work harmoniously with nature and see the results,
Yeah.
or the inverse, like it's kind of what conventional in a lot of ways. It's
Right.
it's working against nature, and then how does that respond? That's everything that we're currently facing, from the soil health to our health, and
Exactly.
and so I'm hoping that continues to grow too. It's interesting to see in America and the younger generations. It seems that that's also growing. So I wonder if that, and it's in a way, can help bring more folks over. Because I feel like the whole calling aspect is so huge.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's how I feel with Regenaissance overall. Is the whole reason why I'm not ranching right now is I feel called to do Regenaissance until it's my
Exactly.
time to ranch.
Yeah. You have to be open and not, you know,
Yes.
like listen, you know.
Having an open heart with all of that.
Right.
But then also, because that was for me too, was you can't force that on somebody, so you just have to have an
Yeah.
open heart and just be curious. Because for me, I
Exactly.
grew up in it and I felt forced, and so
Yeah.
all of that. But that's what a lot of people also do, is they don't have that. They're just immediately closed off, and I
Right.
can kind of get that too, because having negative experiences can really dissuade from you ever trying that again.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it could.
But again, that's why I believe that the root of all of our problems is our disconnection from our food. Because
Yeah.
say that might happen, but then say they go to a farmer's market and meet you guys, and they're like, what are these two young bucks over here growing some food? And then
Mhm.
you just have no idea what can lead to by just simply shaking the hand that feeds you. It's
Yeah. I would just say be curious and go out there and yeah, create a relationship with your farmers and yeah, know where your food comes from. I mean,
the last topic I wanted to touch on is, what made you decide to go to college then, rather than just go all in with what you're doing here?
yeah. Um, I would say that I just had it in my mind that I was going to do it. You know, neither of my parents graduated from college. And, I don't know many people that they did, right? And so I just felt like I had that opportunity. I was blessed with the opportunity, right? And I need to, take advantage of that. And I don't really care for it, to be honest with you. I think it's helpful in some ways, but it's nice to have that experience, and it's not something you can really do again.
So what's your schedule like then?
Yeah, so I go typically. I'll go. I'll leave tomorrow morning, Tuesday, and so I'll go straight to class, and then I'll head back Friday midday.
So you just stay on campus?
I have an apartment there.
Okay.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's just school when I'm there, and then I spend Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday here, and I try to get all the school stuff done there, and try to just do what I need to do here.
So talking about sacrifice, you have no free time then?
Yeah, not really. I mean, like I said, I'm always kind of thinking about what we're doing, and yeah.
Does that, whenever you're doing that too, I'm assuming, does that just fuel you up? Like, because for me, I mean, I kind of relate to that, to where with my mind does not shut off with any of this.
Right. Yeah, it's the same here. I mean, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what I want to do. So like, and I want it to continue to grow and live out the dream that I have. Right. So yeah, it's always on the mind.
And then Patrick, for you, what would be, let's say, one of your most memorable or favorite experiences within this last year doing all of this?
Wow. I'd have to give it to the first time processing chicken. I think it's quite the time. We had a fine setup, but it takes longer than you think.
Were you nervous at that first one that you're going to screw it up? Because I just remember the first time I was telling this, I do not want to screw this up at all.
Well,
but then
the cool thing about how we like to do things is that we're always fully prepared. We feel like, because we do the research, and like, because it's very serious. Like, we have 300 chickens we got to process tomorrow. We need to know today how to process a chicken. You know what I mean? So like, we always try to be prepared. But that first time, it took a lot longer than we might have expected, and we didn't quite have everybody there. But those hard times make for good memories. So we had a great time processing chicken with headlamps on. So it was fun.
That's a great way of putting it. The hard times make great memories.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
What about you, Caden? What's one of your favorite just experiences or anything just since starting when you're 17?
Yeah, I would just say it's hard to pinpoint one experience. There's been so many just like milestones, right?
Okay, yeah, let's hit
like
those.
Everything just like one thing after another. It's like we have plenty of failures, right? But we're learning from them, and it just seems like things just go right for us, and like we're supposed to be doing it, like just him coming on board at the time he did, and then getting into the market that we're in now. I mean, it's just it's working out, and just like being able to learn from the first time we processed, first time we raised chickens, and just like being able to make those failures like initially. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just worked out in such a good way. Yeah. I'm trying to recall anything crazy.
One memory? Crazy.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
Cool. We can just end it at that then. Well, thank you all for
Yeah.
having me, man. This was awesome. And then I guess I'll just leave all of the listeners with the thing I always do, and that's shake the hand that feeds you. So thank you guys again.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Perfect. We're good. Visit www.theregenaissance.co to learn more.